The Greater Toronto Area's real estate market has been unusually slow this year, and our spring market has been underwhelming even when you compare it to last year. But I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why our market will see a shift, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you when exactly we can expect that shift to take place. I'm Michael Dougal, your Greater Toronto Area real estate resource, and if you are considering buying or selling, make sure to call me. And if you're a real estate agent looking for a great brokerage with hands-on mentorship, training, as well as the most support that you need, make sure to reach out to me to learn more about eXp Realty. And what we're going to do is look at some of the data, and we're not only going to compare where we are now to the past couple of years, but we're also going to look back 20 years plus to see how history is likely to repeat itself in the marketplace. Of course, we're going to look at what the experts have to say, because the experts, let's admit it, they are influencing the market and they're impacting buyer psychology. I'll share my take on it, and of course, you're going to learn the 3 reasons why I believe the market will be shifting. And as per this article, which summarized a report from the Bank of Montreal, they had mentioned that concerns about the prospect of an economic recession had increased from 60% in March to 74% in April 2025. Although I certainly don't think this is the case, which leads to my point number 1, and that point is that buyers are watching the market closely. And what's happening is a lot of the buyers are on the sidelines right now. They're hoping for stability. Right now, fortunately, a lot of the talk around the trade war has seemed to settle down a bit. We've also seen that our average price has held pretty much steady. It hasn't decreased as much as you would expect, considering that most of the headlines are negative in today's market. And I'm personally working with a lot of buyers that they're not ready necessarily to start the viewing process and looking at homes in person, but they are interested. They ask me to send them listings. They want me to set them up on subscriptions. And that's because they're waiting for the right time to buy. And we have to understand that one of the most challenging things about buyers in general is that they're being influenced by their friends, their family, with the headlines on the news. Very often, buyers are actually ready to make an offer on a property. They hear something in the news, they get scared, they get cold feet, and they actually decide to postpone their purchase. It happens all the time. And currently, we are in a buyer's market. It's the buyers that have most of the control. In this chart, we're looking at the percentage of properties that are sold under their asking price, because in Toronto, one of the things we know is when the market heats up, listings sell over their asking price and within a couple of weeks of the home being put on the market. But in this case, we can see how April 2025 compares to the previous years, where the majority of properties, of course, are selling under the asking price. Of course, there's always going to be some listings selling over their asking price, and that's really because of the fact that a lot of agents advise their clients to take on that pricing strategy when it's really not necessary. It's also very misleading for the buying public. And here we're looking at just how much off the asking price the buyers are able to get in this market, and we can see since 2022 the number has declined. Listings are selling at just around 96 to 97% of their asking price. And here we're looking at the historical interest rates. We're going back decades in this visual, and we can see that although the interest rates are higher currently, they're also far less than what they have been the past couple of years. As shown, currently our target rate is 2.75%, but if we go back about a year ago, it was around 5%. So taking all this into consideration, most likely interest rates will decrease in the future. I'm certainly expecting more of those buyers that are on the sidelines to actually get active in the market and buy a property. The second reason why our market is likely to see a shift is because sellers will start to pull their listings off the market. And we've seen this happen actually throughout the past few months. Unfortunately, for a lot of sellers, they just have to sell their property. Maybe they can't keep up with the mortgage payments, or life circumstances takes them elsewhere. People have to relocate for their jobs. Maybe they can't afford to own a property anymore and they choose to rent, given that the rental market is pretty attractive right now for people that are owning a home. When we look at the market right now, we have to take into consideration the active inventory. There are all these listings from previous months that need to sell first in order for them to be somewhat of an equilibrium, but there's all these listings sitting on the market. So I'm going to expect that some of the listings, of course, sell, and of course, many of the sellers decide to take their listing off the market. And unfortunately, some of these homeowners, they're in really bad positions. Maybe they've purchased their property in 2022 and they can't keep up with the mortgage payments, so the property ends up going power of sale. So I'm expecting our number of listings to decrease, and then as a result, us return to a more balanced market, and then eventually perhaps the seller's market. And the third reason why our market is likely to shift is because of the fact that investors will return. Investors have always returned. Investors understand that overall, Canada and the Greater Toronto Area is a fairly safe place for them to invest their money. It's not as risky as other countries. Of course, no country is going to be perfect, but when we look at the numbers, sure, homeowners haven't seen much appreciation for their properties the previous 5 years, but let's take a look at the 5 years prior to that. And most investors out there, they have a more long-term perspective, and they likely understand that if they buy a property here in the Greater Toronto Area, there will be some rough patches. There will be years when their properties don't appreciate. But of course, over the long haul and the accumulation effect, these investors are going to be better off afterwards. And let's not forget that investors, they have influenced our market in a major way over the years, from buying new construction condos to even buying new construction freehold property. I remember that happening in New York region when a lot of the subdivisions were being built. Investors or even casual buyers that believe in investing their money in real estate, they were buying not only one property, they were buying several properties in a specific subdivision. And investors will feel comfortable now with the fact that a lot of the political drama has seemed to settle down a little bit. There's a bit more stability in the marketplace. So once investors return to the market, I think that's when our average price is likely to increase. And I'm expecting all these changes to happen during the later portion of the first quarter of 2026. I think now we'll see a gradual, steady improvement in the market as the interest rates decrease. I'd love to know your thoughts about this information in the comments section below. Do subscribe if you found the video informative. And of course, if you are selling or buying, make sure to call me. And if you're a real estate agent looking for a great brokerage, make sure to connect with me to learn more about how eXp Realty can better support you. And I look forward to seeing you next time.